What is general insurance and why is it so important?
Hi, my name is Helia Singh and welcome to my show, Wealth Coaching with Helia Singh, the fastest way to build wealth.
Well, my name is Helia Singh and I'm a wealth coach. And today we are again here to talk about and teach you this important topic. What is general insurance and why is it so important? But the good news is today I have an expert to talk to you about it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my special guest and friend, Derek Ford. He is a general insurance advisor and an expert and passionate guy when it comes to insurance. And he is our special guest today. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Passionate. Yes, I've been described that many times, but not about insurance. But yes, I think I am actually. So that's lovely. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, it's great to have you here, and thanks for your time. I know in my experience dealing with clients over years, people usually think that our industries such as financial advice or insurance, accounting, so it's a bit boring or
Gosh, yeah.
So but I just want people to know that look, this is more to it than what they see. So but of course I know in fact nobody's excited to go and buy insurance.
No, definitely encourage purchase.
Yeah. But I know because I've seen how you deliver your great service to my clients and even others. So, and the way that you explained why general insurance is important and what it is, to me is very convincing and eye-opening. So please let us know and share your wisdom and knowledge here.
Certainly. So thank you for that. First of all, I'll have to start with some legalities in that I have to give a general advice warning, and nothing that I mention is specific. And if you've got any questions, then please do reach out to me or an insurance broker or an insurance advisor. So why is it important? Well, something that struck me a few years ago is it is impossible to do just about anything without insurance. You can't drive a car, you can't build a house, you can't rent a house, you can't build a bridge, you can't fly an aircraft. You keep going and you will eventually work out that insurance is needed for just about everything that we do in today's world. So it's in that way I'm blessed in as much that my business is always in demand. So yeah, it's just, and with that comes a start to the day that I never quite know who I'll be speaking with, what problems they have, what business they are in, what problems the business has, what risks they face, and where we can move those businesses onto somebody else's balance sheet or not. That's risk. So moving on to somebody else's balance sheet is the transfer of risk by a vehicle called insurance. So why is it important? Because you can't do anything without it. People just don't take anybody seriously if you don't have it, because they're not prepared to accept the risk of dealing with people who are uninsured. So yeah, it's fascinating. I think it's a fascinating occupation. Yeah. Really do.
That's great. I think, as we both know that like wealth creation, everybody is after that. Okay, I want to create wealth or produce more, the income for retirement. Yes. Or lifestyle stuff. But that's the fundamental part of wealth creation is wealth protection. And I think this is exactly where that insurance comes in handy to make sure it's protection.
Absolutely, absolutely. Whilst most people begrudge paying the premium and they don't see that as wealth generation, it is absolutely wealth protection. You are stopping yourself being sued for something that occurred negligently. You didn't mean to bang your car into somebody else's car. It just happened because a momentary distraction. You were negligent in that moment. You didn't mean to destroy your factory, but it just happened because an electric fan overheated or had dust in it and caused the fire that destroyed your livelihood, your business, and that of your employees, and also potentially of your customers. So it is one of the most fundamental means of wealth protection that I can think of. I mean, yeah, it just is so fundamental as to why you wouldn't have it. And I think people who don't have it, I have great admiration for those that do it with knowledge. And they fully, I had a client a few years ago who drove a very expensive Mercedes car, and he would only insure it for third party.
Oh gosh.
But he knew he was taking the risk. If he damaged his car, he had to get his checkbook out and pay for the damage. He had worked on the basis that he hadn't had a claim that he had created in 20 or 30 years, and he felt that he wasn't going to in the next 20 or 30. So he decided to self-insure. That word comes back in, self-insure. So he was possibly in his head putting some money aside for the eventuality that one day he would hit a bollard or would reverse incorrectly into the garage. But he had made that decision that was going to be the way he operated his motor vehicle. Admiration. But where other people are reliant on, where other people are also reliant on you to stump up. So, for example, if you've got a factory or a business where you are employing others, workers' comp is compulsory. But to get that business back up and running so that you can maintain employment and provide those people with a livelihood, not just, oh, I'm sorry, the factory or the shop burnt down, that's us, we're finished, is such a strong community action. It's just phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. It's crowdfunding. I mean, we think we're very trendy when we say, oh, I've just set up a crowdfunding something, but this goes back to pre-Roman times when merchants were swapping risks and sharing cargoes on different ships in order to reduce the risk that if one ship went down, not everything went down for that business. They still had another 6 or 7 ships still going across the Mediterranean that might survive the storm. So that's a form of insurance. Crowdfunding, same sort of thing, people putting their pockets in, but that tends to be post-loss. You're reliant upon the generosity of others at a time of need rather than actually having a pre-agreed formula that something is then paid out upon. So a pre-agreed contract.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for that. Well, actually, it just reminded me of an actual event that happened last year during COVID in Melbourne, Victoria, which those people have been in a lockdown for a long time.
Yes.
One of my clients and a family friend, actually, once the lockdown was over, so or there was just a bit of ease of restriction, they went out for a dinner with friends, and when they came back home, obviously, their house was just got almost emptied. It was barely everything was gone. And luckily, these friends, they had insurance. So
Yes.
when they contacted me, I told them, look, don't panic. You can do this, go there, get it done. And still, they managed to get about $20,000 from their insurance, which was pretty good. So,
Yeah.
and then, but at the same time, they said that one of their friends, within 2 nights, one of their friends, their house was burned, and actually they had some cash at home, some US dollar in home, and some golds and jewelries and stuff. Everything was there, and they were hoping. And of course, the husband was just thinking, okay, fine, insurance, we'll get it. Blah blah friend, that happened to them a few days ago. That's fine. And then found out, oops, wife forgot to renew the insurance because she thought, what's the point of we are paying it? So there is no claim in there for many.
Oh no! Yes.
Typical. Unfortunately, things happen because that's what it is. Accidents do happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's your tagline, which I always love it.
Bad things happen to good people. Yes, indeed. Yeah, there was I haven't read the nitty gritty of the case, but there was an ex-insured tried to recover a claim, and they against one of the insurers this week, and their policy had not been active for 10 months. But but again, it could have been a fault of the bank or something. But the financial regulator, I just read the headline, turned that claim down because they weren't insured. They hadn't paid their premium, their pre-assigned crowdfunding access. So yeah, it's horrible. But I mean, similarly, we've had great stories where it was around this time of year a few years ago. A client of ours who was in the trades was working on a roof and didn't quite do a check on a piece of equipment that was on the roof. The homeowner was out. The job was finished. My client scooted off in their vehicles, and the client came home. The homeowner came home to find that unfortunately something had happened on the roof that was now causing water to pour in. It was a double-story house, so it was pouring into the attic and then into the first floor and then coming all the way down the stairs. And she opened the front door and a swimming pool of water went past her, and this was all around Christmas time.
Oh gosh.
So fortunately, my client's insurance responded. It was around $50,000 to $70,000 of loss. My client arranged for alternative accommodation. So at least the person who had suffered the loss was not totally inconvenienced by being homeless whilst the home was being dried out. It was redecorated, some rewiring, new furniture where the furniture had stained.
Oh, wow.
$70,000, and you sort of think, oh, that is a good story. That's a good heartwarming story. I even went up with towels and a bucket to try and help them mop the house up. That's talk about being passionate. That was my idea of trying to help out. But
Sure.
yes, that's what it's about. It's not paying the premium. People get very hung up on what's the cost of insurance. As I explained to my clients, if I go into a Harvey Norman or a JB Hi-Fi or something and I say, I want the cheapest TV, I probably can get something that's a couple of $100, and it will work. It might not be a great picture. It might not have all of the tuck-in USB ports or the ability to be a smart TV, but it will show a picture. It will do something.
And a small picture.
And it may be a small picture. But if I say to somebody in JB Hi-Fi, I've got $2,000 or $3,000 to spend rather than $600 or $700 to spend, then I'm going to end up with something that's a lot clearer, possibly a bit bigger, more things, more benefits to my viewing experience. It might be something that I can talk to. It will respond back to me when I need it to. It will turn on when I want it to. And hopefully it will also last a little bit longer as well. Buying insurance is exactly the same, in that cheapest is not always the best. It's a measure, but you also need to look at the length of the cover, the breadth of the cover, what exclusion. The most important part of any insurance document, I believe, that can be read is the exclusions. You start with what isn't covered, and you go, okay, that doesn't impact my life too much. If there's a nuclear radiation accident, that's going to impact my life, but it's going to impact everybody else's. But if it says I'm a painter and decorator, but I'm not allowed work over 3 meters in height, oh, that's a significant problem, because that means I'm only restricted to doing gutters on a one-story building. So you've got to really be careful. Read the exclusions to start with, and then go and read what is covered. So you've got a very firm idea that is absolutely not covered, and then everything else that is in the preamble is covered. So that's my starter, and that's how insurance should be looked at. The insurance manual should be read. You buy your TV, you get home, you read your insurance manual. You buy insurance, everybody puts that away because they think it's too hard to read, and they only read it when something's gone wrong, and they hope that it fits, and they haven't been painting 2 stories up when they should have only been painting 1 story up. So
yeah. No, it's great, Analishi. Thanks so much. And I remember a few months ago, you mentioned something about loss of income for businesses insurance, which to me, as a wealth coach, that was really big things. And whoever I spoke to, other business owners, they didn't even know there is such a thing. So yeah, could you please elaborate on that one?
Yes. So under a property policy, that's called business interruption policy, and it is also possible to get if you're a truck owner or something like that, and your vehicle is taken off the road. So essentially, what happens with business interruption, and I need to be very careful here because there's a lot of court cases going on at the moment around COVID, and some insurers had wordings that are being challenged because they may respond to COVID losses. Other insurers have wordings that clearly won't respond to COVID losses. But forgetting COVID, let's say your business burns down. That's a very simple, everybody knows what a fire looks like. So your business burns down and the loss adjuster comes out. They work for the insurer, by the way, so just treat a loss adjuster with some caution. They are nice people, but they are working for the insurer. So the loss adjuster comes out, they look at the building and they say, oh, you had this insured for $5 million. And yes, we can see that it's a $5 million building. We will start the process of rebuilding. So that's all well and good. Now you have to go off to the council and get building approval. If the council or anything bogged out at the moment with the construction boom, they might take 6 months to actually approve well, first of all, you got to get the plans drawn up. So that might take 6 months. Then you go to the council and say, here are the plans for the building. That might be another 6 months. So just quite simply, from the time the loss adjuster has said, yes, we'll write you a check for $5 million to rebuild, might be 12 months before the plans are even approved. And now you have to go and find a builder to go and do the work. Well, hopefully you've done a little bit of that during the plan process, but let's say you started that 3 or 4 months whilst the planning was in. you've still got another year or 18 months before the doors reopen on your premises. So that's starting to look like a 2-year time from the time that the fire actually occurred to the time you open your doors. You open your doors with great gusto, and nobody's standing there waiting for you, because what's happened? All your customers have found alternative sources to do their business with. They found somebody who they built a relationship with. They might be cheaper, they might have the stock, you haven't got the stock quite, your prices might be slightly out of whack, who knows? But nobody's going to be queuing up, and your business revenue has taken a hit for 2 years, is not going to go back to the level it was at immediately before the loss occurred. So business interruption is there to protect the loss of income for that duration, and also when you throw your doors open, to help you during the time of rebuilding your business.
Oh, okay.
So that's provided you set the right amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of Australian business owners think that if they have a significant loss, they can be back to the level they were at in 12 months. I would challenge that for most businesses, that just with that scenario of 6 months of planning and possibly a couple of months of getting the plans redrawn. And don't forget, building codes change. So what was acceptable 10, 20, 30 years ago may be totally unacceptable now. We have different types of glass. We all need sprinklers or something put in the ceiling. We might have to have disability access, lifts going up a couple of feet to allow wheelchair access. So there's a whole raft of things that need to be borne into consideration when the plans are drafted. You can't just say, here's the plans from 20 years ago, I want to rebuild this. So your business has been interrupted, and it's going to take some time to rebuild. So a good business interruption policy will give you the length of time that your business will suffer, including the time that your business is rebuilding from the time that it opens. And it can also help you by something called additional increased cost of working. So your prices may have gone up because there's a world shortage of microchips, and suddenly you can't get enough stock in. So you need to fly stuff in. You need to fly stuff in quickly. You need to charter an aircraft. So additional increased cost of working is there to, as the name implies, to help you out with those additional increased costs that you weren't intending to suffer as a result of your claim. So you can use that. You may also use additional increased costs to discount your product to get the clients that you had back in through the door. You might advertise that you've got a sale happening. That's an additional increased cost of working that you weren't intending to have when you open your business up. It might pay for your lost wages. So if you've got let's say you're a really flash restaurant and you've gone out and you've employed the chef of the year. When that restaurant burns down, the chef wants to know, have they got a job or not, or do they need to go off somewhere else? If they go off to somewhere else, you've lost them forever. They're not going to turn up when you reopen the doors. But if you can keep them on your wage roll and send them off to do a 10-month tour of the world.
Yep. Oh, they would love you for that.
For example, at the moment, you might get them to do a 10-month tour of Perth.
Yeah.
But they could do research. They can devise recipes. They can teach, coach, do something. They can sit on the beach if they want. Yeah. But when you open the doors, you've got that individual ready and waiting, and they're on your payroll. There'll be certain staff. So, for example, you may not retain your cleaning staff because you can always get another contractor a cleaning contractor in at that time. So you tailor it so that your key staff, the management, individuals like chefs or technicians that you really must have within the business in order to retain it, you'd have them insured as part of the business interruption cover. Yeah, so just having a chat with somebody who knows and making sure that sorry, the lights are flicking on.
No.
Just making sure that you're just looking at things with knowledge. I say to my clients, please let me present you with the facts. If I give you the advice that there's that word, advice. If I give you the advice and you make the decision, that's all I ask. But if I fail to give you that advice and you make the wrong decision, based on not understanding, then you're not going to be happy.
For sure.
At least, as I say, the guy who was self-insured with the car, he knew what he was up for. He knew if he damaged his car, he was up for a certain repair bill. He'd done it with knowledge and with advice. That's what it's about.
That's great. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think the key word is informed decision.
Informed decision, yeah.
No,
yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So do you have any special gift or something to share with my clients or our audience?
Certainly, yeah. So we've got the ability, using a lot of public data that we suck in through various means, to help. It's predominantly for businesses. In fact, it is for businesses, where we can produce something called a risk profile guide. Okay. So we are able to look at the risks pertinent to a certain address. So if you had an operation based here, then we can say you're bushfire prone, and we produce a little dashboard to say whether you're high risk, medium risk, or low risk. Whether you're earthquake prone, whether you're cyclone prone, hailstorm prone, soil zonation, which is where the soil, if it gets, it happened in Christchurch, so the soil went all claggy basically, and it was impossible to rebuild on, that whether you're in there. The other part of the report is it looks at your occupation. So if you were a consultant, obviously professional indemnity is important to you, but you may actually get guidance as to whether other aspects are important. So a ranking, a traffic light that has been produced based on the number of claims that occupation has produced, is then used. So it's sucked information back out from the insurers that we're able to feed to our clients. So, as I say, if you're a consultant, professional indemnity, public liability, products liability would be right down at the bottom of the pile, because a consultant technically shouldn't be selling products. So it will rank it in that way. So I'm certainly happy to should we say 10? If 10 people apply, so I'm happy to produce a report for 10 people based on their occupation and locations. So happy to do that. I will need to send them a privacy statement just to say that I obviously won't share that with you, for example, Helia, or anybody else. It will be just a report that's privy to.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My
and pleasure. How our clients, our friends can get in touch with you?
Yes, so probably the best is just to send me an email. My email address is quite simple. It's dford, D-F-O-R-D, little @ sign, at iaa.net.au. So dford@iaa.net.au.
Perfect. So we're going to put anyway your email address, your website, your details in the comment section, so Super. Everybody can get in touch with you. Wonderful. Yeah. Thanks a lot. So is it okay if I ask you some personal question now.
Of
Just
course, of
just
course.
so that we are humans. We are not deciding what number, insurance.
I can feel my pulse increasing already. So yes, here we go.
All right, the first one. Okay. Let me see. Okay, if you were not doing what you are doing right now as an insurance advisor, what would you would have done?
Oh, toughy. Well, as a kid, I always wanted to join the army. I had a romantic vision of being in the military, and at one point I was going to fly helicopters in the UK Navy, but I'm slightly colorblind, very slightly colorblind.
Wow.
And when I was told that, it threw my world into a turmoil. So I suppose there's two things. First of all, I just so enjoy doing what I do, and I know that sounds really weird to be an insurance person, but it's like being in a Trivial Pursuit game every day of the week. It is just fascinating. So I have a hobby of scuba diving. But the problem is when you take something that you really enjoy like a hobby and make a job out of it, you then lose, you cannot do. It is possible to lose the enjoyment aspect. You know, when you put a wetsuit on for the 15th time this week and you're having to take people out to dive and you've seen the same stuff again and again, it can lose that edge of enjoyment. So if I could be a specialist scuba diver where I dive somewhere new every day of the week, yes, that would be my dream job, or an insurance broker. So
that's great. Yeah. So look, I know you are still young, so we are young.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. I think one or two gray hairs happening. Yeah.
How do you picture your retirement?
Yes, well, this is something that as one gets slightly older, one does envisage. When I first started work back in 1987, retirement was a thing that you worked to and you finished when you hit your 65th birthday, and that was it. That was the curtains were shut and the new curtains were opened, and that was the view you had for the rest of your life. I don't sort of see that happening for myself. So I think at some point, yes, there'll be a winding back of the business. We've got some staff. I'm happy to mentor them. I'm happy to look after the clients that perhaps are a bit hard or tricky, or and again, it's relationship based, isn't it? I mean, it's same as your business. There are clients that you just, when the phone rings, you think, oh, I just love having this conversation. I don't know where it's going to go, and I know I'm going to be challenged with it, or not challenged with it. It might be something very simple, but it's just an enjoyable exchange of ideas. Exactly. So I think being able to still have my marbles and assist those people, perhaps working 2 or 3 days a week, a fortnight, having others in the business working on their clients, and I suppose at some point there'll be the inevitable, I've had enough, or I want to quit, or I haven't got internet access because I'm stuck up a mountain somewhere in Nepal or somewhere that it's going to be impractical. But that's what I see. I think ideally having the ability to dip in and out, and even if it's at a very high level as an advisor or sharing perhaps some business knowledge with not-for-profits, working on those as committees. I'm not into lowercase politics. A committee for me has to work well and has to have a vision of go, not I'm in it for my own thing. So finding some not-for-profits that just sit well and don't really need my involvement, but are happy to have my involvement, would be another thing. So that's probably where we're up to.
Oh, wonderful. That's very nice. And now the last question.
Hey.
What is your definition of wealth?
Yeah, so I've worked in the corporate world, and I've certainly been on a pay level that was significant. That was it was a nice time. It was nice that a bill didn't phase me out. Not that they do too often. I try and manage my finances in that way. Did you like that? But I suppose it's contentment. It's a means of knowing that if I need or want something, that it is achievable. It may not be immediate, but it's achievable. And having the contentment to know that I can work for it. Would I like an $800,000 Porsche? Yeah. Is it achievable? Yeah. What sacrifice am I then prepared to make for that? Is it something that with those sacrifices that I'm prepared to make? Possibly not. So that's the contentment level. Knowing that my car gets me from A to B, I might be a couple of seconds slower. I might not have heads turn and everybody go, wow, look at that. But it's the contentment of knowing that my family are looked after, that my grandchildren are they're just brilliant. You fall in love with your grandchildren. You love your children. You fall in love with your grandchildren. I heard that this morning on the radio, and that's wealth. That's wealth. Yeah, and having good health, I suppose, is wealth as well, because you can be the richest man on the world, but if you've got no means to enjoy it, if you're lying in bed with tubes stuck up your nose and you're unable to move, then that's not wealth. So yeah, I'll just one more thing to add to that. Wealth to me is also peace and quiet. Sitting in a field, listening to the birds sing, and having a brook, a stream running past, and being able to just take in that moment. So that's wealth. Love that.
Yeah. Wow.
Love that.
Look, I know you for the last few years, but this is the best, I think, chat we ever had.
Oh, I think so, because it's been all about me, but no,
really. Now I know a different side of Derek Ford, so which is great, and it just shows that such a great person you are, a great human being. Personally, I really thank you for all your support.
Well, likewise for you too. So.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's great to know that how you see the world, and that enjoying the moment. I think that yes, you're very right. That's wealth, because so many of us get so busy in life that you're just always either thinking about what happens next, or thinking in the past. We lost that ability to enjoy the moment, at least for a long time. I mean, at least let's say for an hour. Maybe for 1 second we remind ourselves, or have these posters everywhere, or our phone, let's say we put a reminder, yes, it's time to enjoy. Enjoy
the now, absolutely. Because tomorrow, God God forbid, but tomorrow might not happen.
Yeah.
And there's no point thinking I'll be happy tomorrow, or I'll have the Porsche tomorrow, or I'll, enjoy the moment, and cherish. We just are babysitting our grandson, and when you see this little 4-month-old and you say hello and you get this gorgeous smile, oh, what a fantastic, that's just it. That's wealth. That's worth $1 million.
Yes.
That's just superb. So,
well, you are a truly wealthy man.
I am very wealthy. I am truly wealthy. You're right.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.
Our audience enjoyed this conversation and found some, nuggets of wisdom from you, and they'll definitely look at their insurances and get in touch with you or whoever is their insurance broker.
By all means,
make sure they are covered, because we are just here to share our knowledge and make sure everybody knows what they're doing. So that's good.
Helia, thank you very much, and I wish all your audience. This is recorded in December, so hopefully everybody sees this at some point before Christmas and the New Year. So hopefully everybody has a good holiday break, and 2022 is a year that onwards and upwards.
Yes, for
remembering to live in the moment. So.
Yes. So, and to my fans and audience, thank you so much for following us. And please, if you know someone may enjoy this video and will be useful for them, please tag them in this video. And don't forget to put your comments and questions below, and we will be in touch. Until next episode, have a happy, healthy, wealthy life.